Welcome to a new update in which we're going to talk about the altcoins. The altcoins are still moving down as Bitcoin is sneezing and then altcoins are moving downwards. We're talking about the reasoning why Bitcoin is making such a move, and we're going to focus on that, and we're going to have an overall outlook on the altcoins in the markets, through which we are able to identify whether or not we are into a point of interest still, or whether we are into a point where you should be looking at a case where the markets are continuing to fall. Before we continue, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to this YouTube channel, also make sure to follow me on all the social media channels, and make sure to join our public Discord and sign up to OKX, our partner, which gives you $60,000 in sign-up bonus and 20% lifetime trading fees if you trade on OKX. When we're looking at the markets, the first thing that I shortly want to bring up is the fact that we've got the entire capitulation, anger and depressive phase on altcoins, in which we are currently at depression. We're going to talk about that in a little more bit in this weekly update. First, we've got a case of Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is currently consolidating, which means we've had a sideways period in this previous period, and now we are back into the range high, through which we are still fighting resistance and we're still not breaking through resistance, which means that we are on the edge of having an actual breakout taking place if we crack these highs, and if we're going to crack 32.2, that's when the real party starts to kick in. We're still waiting for a breakout, so we're still chopping around, especially if you're looking at the weekly candle. And additionally, if you're adding a few important indicators, we can see that we are still making higher lows, and we are still anticipating a potential higher high to be created, which is somewhere going to be here, through which the trend continues to be upwards. But the question is, how far will Bitcoin correct before we can start moving to the upside, as currently we are hovering in this range for a few weeks. If we are having a correction and then back upwards again, this is going to be constructed as a pretty substantial breakout area that at some point is going to give that vital breakout. The important part here is that we are currently seeing that the 200 EMA and MAs are holding for Bitcoin, which means that most likely we're not going to fall beneath, that we're just continuing the consolidation here, which means that we can still find ourselves into interesting points for altcoins, and that the moment to have that breakout and to take that trade is getting there. Now, the reasoning, what we are discussing in today's video, is that we've had some slight breakouts, right? Or we try to have some slight breakouts, through which we can see that the liquidity has been taken above these highs, and the price of Bitcoin has started to fall back into the range. That is, ultimately, if you look at this, then it's not really that bad. It's just moving sideways. We've got these lows still ready here, and we've got this big gap that we have been seeing as a rally to the upside, as we have been taking this entire trend in one go and started to rally towards 31k. Now, what we're looking at here is a range construction, which means that our range is clearly defined from 31.4, and the low what we have here might be even 29.5, but it's surely the level at 29.9. So that is the range that we're currently acting in, and this range is valid until proven otherwise, which means that we have been taking out all these lows. We can continue to have a structure like this and then start taking a breakout. But ultimately, if we take out the 29.5k low, we are going to copy paste the movements that we've had in the previous period, in which we are most likely going to have this, where we start falling, get into the block of the lower level, and then break back to the upside. So if the markets are not continuing at all and we start correcting towards 28.9 or so, I think then we surely need to see some consolidation and then a fast break to the upside. But ultimately, if we stay above these range lows, everything is pretty much fine, and you clearly can see that we're still in the range, which means that we're still in a point of interest. The reasoning why we have been seeing this swift move is that we're getting data, which is found on a website which is called Forex Factory. It gave us non-farm employment change, also services PMI, any job openings, and after this update was provided, we also got the unemployment rate and NFP. This data number for ADP non-farm employment change is more positive than expected, through which the result is that the expectations for a potential hike have increased, as the dollar has been showing some momentum and also gold has been showing some weakness as it has been trending down. Through that, we get the expectation that in the next FOMC meeting there is going to be another rate hike, which was totally expected already. The markets are just having a very massive move over this, and additionally crypto is usually having a multiplier in terms of chaotic moves, through which this move to the upside was quite comparable to the previous move that we anticipated here, in which we have been rallying, taking out all the highs here, liquidity has been taken, and then also we started falling down, taking out all the lows, so we are back into equilibrium. Through that, I said the levels of interest are clearly found in the lower boundaries. Now when we go towards the altcoins at this point, we can also see that altcoins have been seeing some pain. The question here is though, how far are we going to have that pain, or are we actually at the end of the entire correction? That is very likely. In this case, we have been seeing this uptrend on Litecoin. We saw this bearish divergence here. I was expecting some corrections taking place, and we see the downwards momentum since, which have been creating lower highs and lower lows, through which clear retests are taking place, and we are actually approaching a critical level for Litecoin here, which is assumingly the previous range high, which most likely needs to hold here if we want to have any continuation taking place when it comes to the markets on Litecoin. Also, when we're looking at the higher time frames for Litecoin, I'll just erase it for a little bit. We are looking at a case that we are currently retesting the 200-week EMA, and that we are surely looking at a case to hold here if we want anything to continue to pursue in order for Litecoin going into the halving, right? Now, when we're looking at the altcoins are clearly looking at a case of consolidation still. We've just had a bearish cross there, but we are seeing that with the others altcoin chart, we are currently consolidating, which means that we are still trending down, but are on the edge of having a trend to the upside. Which means the others chart is having the capitulation, is having anger here, is making itself a higher low, and now it's just consolidating before a potential new uptrend starts to happen. In this case, we have been taking the high here if this asset was tradable, and we most likely take the low through which we close this gap before we continue making movements to the upside, which is very likely at this point, but we're just consolidating with the markets. Now when we look at Chainlink, we can clearly see that it's back into the range as well. We're still looking at this expansion case, but once we start to look at the entire chart for Chainlink overall, which is this one, I can explain it a little bit more to you to round off this update, which means that I clearly saw a case of the deviation beneath the lows. We see a retest taking place. We see another correction taking place, which is also happening in every of the previous upwards runs. We are establishing a point of potential support here, and clearly you want to see Chainlink hold above $6. And that is the moment that we can start attacking these highs and most likely get ourselves a run towards $7.50. The next update will be on Tuesday. Make sure to hit the like button and I'll be back to watch you.